Okay, Dick Table, put it on
The
list. My big list.
What about my sweat equity?
Ooh.
Sweat equity. Sweat equity. My sweat equity.
Ooh.
My sweat equity.
Smooth Jams. 95.7 on your FM dial.
I love having hair.
What about my sweat equity?
For those.
My
Oh,
hair.
Ric Flair, friend of the program, Henry Hollingsworth, in the house from allday.io. Let him hear your voice.
Hello
For
there,
the-
gang.
For the audio people, for the video people, you can see that Eric Reginger has sprouted a wig.
Yeah, well, for our 100th episode, we both wore this, and today is my 100th episode
Wow.
on Sweat Equity.
Is it?
Yeah,
Dude, triple digits, man.
thanks for noticing, guys.
How are you feeling?
I noticed.
I felt a lot better, but until nobody pointed it out.
Well,
And
you
then
have
I realized-
control of the sound effects, so if you want some applause, hit some applause, man.
Yeah,
Nope.
that's about right. No,
sounds-
No, that's good. That's about right.
That's like a.
Nope,
that
no more
sound-
tries. I don't
Sounds
get
like a
it.
boner hitting a wall.
Smoosh.
Yeah. Well,
Hey, baby, I'll be right back.
glad I'm important to
Shit,
you.
I need to turn the lights on. Couple of little things. Can you pull up the Morgan and Morgan?
Oh, okay. Yes, I will.
Um,
Hang on.
I'll filibust for a second.
That's-
Oversight. If you want an app that'll tell you, you're telling me about this.
It's like bringing in Morgan to
All right, hold on. Let's
Dang.
set it up a little bit.
I don't know why we want to listen to this anyways.
It's funny.
Obvious. That's
Henry,
why.
Henry showed it to me. I think it's funny.
It is funny, but
Morgan
do we want
Morgan's-
to be the podcast
No,
that
it's
plays
not.
YouTube videos?
It's national. Yes.
And we also this is an advertising spot for Morgan and Morgan,
Morgan
but
and
it's on
Morgan.
YouTube.
It's related, but I think it's just really funny. How about this? The lessons about frequency and advertising, they do it the best. I know John Morgan's fucking dogs. I know he has 2 German Shepherds because they hit you over the goddamn head with frequency.
I love
so
this
much.
guy, man. He's getting a smokable weed.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely.
In Florida, yeah. But
Yeah,
they're
just-
in like Massachusetts. They're in a bunch of other states. I didn't.
They
even
started
realize.
here though, right?
They have their own ad firm
It's like
in
bringing in
Orlando.
Morgan to
All right, let's listen to it.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan and Morgan and Morgan and Morgan and
Morgan and Morgan.
Morgan and 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 Morgan.
Of who?
So as my mom and dad would say, right before they tucked us in at night, Morgan and 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 Morgan. It's a family tradition.
Pound law, that's all.
Morgan and Morgan and
Morgan and
Morgan.
Morgan and
Morgan and
Morgan and
Morgan.
Morgan and Morgan and Morgan.
Yep.
I think
And if
that's
you
so.
just want to say Morgan, that'd be great too.
Nailed it.
Howard Morgan.
Oh,
It's like
this is
bringing
good.
Kudos to that.
Repeat.
Kudos to the person that took their own time out of nowhere.
That smoked enough weed
Right.
to get
edit
through
that.
it.
That's a
Yeah.
year, man. That's a dedicated year of DVRing enough different channels to catch all the target audiences and
Unless they do
versions.
it like the Daily Show. You know, the Daily Show has a big edit bay kind of thing, and it can extract anything on TV. Like it'll do the transcript or closed captioning for all the news stations, so they can pick out clips for the subject they're talking about.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Really?
This was
Yeah.
done.
That sounds
maybe-
like some AI stuff.
This sounds like a big wig took
We're gonna-
care of this one.
We could probably make that happen with Otter.ai, not a sponsor. Morgan & Morgan, not a sponsor of the show either. But Otter, my new obsession with this app, I want them to be a sponsor. Holler at us. We are your case study for getting. It's a transcription app. I use it for writing content. I use it for writing long emails. And I want to try to work out a deal. They just came out with their 2.0 version of their app. And it's the best transcribing dictation app that's out there. And it'll pull all the keywords. So after this episode, our keywords are usually like
It's going to be
dick,
Morgan.
fuck, and like,
Yeah,
well,
fart.
this one will be Morgan for sure. Will be one of them. But for content writers out there, it's amazing. For podcasters, it's amazing. So, Otter, holler at us. I want to, I want to work something out with
We
you.
want to represent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm asking a girl out
Please.
that doesn't want to date me.
Please, Otter.ai.
Ira, we'll watch our phone until your app does something for you to communicate with us.
The other thing, Oversight, was the app you were telling me about before we started that will tell you if someone is using your camera,
Yep.
right,
And your microphone.
and your mic.
And it's proven working through Livestream Studio. I'm using my laptop now. You can see if you're watching the video. And then when I hooked that thing up, it gave me a little alert that said, hey, somebody's using your video screen there. And I was like, it's okay, because I look good.
It's okay. It's just my hair.
Yeah.
You don't recognize
I
me.
got to take this hair off, so it's hot.
Other-
Hot hair.
Yeah,
It's,
not-
it's
look,
surprising that you have that much heat when there's not much else to wear.
Yeah.
I think you look sexier.
I think you look great. Don't get me wrong.
Now it's like sad dad stripper guy.
Well, sad dad with no hair.
If this doesn't work out for me, I don't know what I'm going to do.
You look like an understudy in Thunder from Down Under,
Yeah.
or like puppetry of the penis kind of stuff.
You
I
look like
haven't
you're
saved
about,
up for my roids.
You look like you're about to go do a play underwater.
Yep. Yes.
You're the butler
It's pretty perfect,
in the
actually.
scene.
Woo!
shout out, and then we'll get into it. Shout out to LiveScribe. This is my Bluetooth pen notebook. I hit them up. A little piece broke. I've had it for 3 years, so I like writing on pieces of paper. They sent a free pen.
Ooh, Siri button in here. Keep going. It's free pen. What happened?
Free pen. Sorry, threw me off, man. They gave me a free pen because I just emailed back and forth with them. That's like Zappos kind of customer service. That shit goes a long way. I told them I'd give them a shout out.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot more of that, actually, of the people calling for digital goods and things.
Yeah, so it's the thing of like when you think everything's bleak as far as like no customer service age, I actually think there's a lot of e-commerce sites like that, or, you know, if it's a physical product like this that's, you know, in that $100, couple $100 range, they will work with you if they're kind of smaller.
Yeah.
Right, 'cause
Well,
they-
it's
they
coming
want-
back around. They're realizing you can't just shut it off and then hopefully, you know, things will work out and maybe you just get new customers and those old ones, fuck them. They
Well-
don't really do that much anymore.
It's something that's going to dovetail into this topic for today, that it's the lifetime value of a client, right? Even if I didn't have a podcast, give them a shout out. They know that I'm more likely, because I'm already a zealot for it, enough to email them and go, hey, is there anything can I get this plastic part and fix it myself?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, you're going to have to buy a new one, because that's their stock answer. And I was like, I probably won't do that.
I'll just go to your competitor.
I'll just try to. I'll try to figure it out. But I use this every day. I didn't know how much I use. This is as important, I guess, to me as like having a phone in a lot of ways, because I'll write every day.
Yeah.
And then it syncs up on the app and stuff, so I have all my notes handwritten.
And it makes it into type.
Right.
Also.
Yeah. And
editable
if
type.
my handwriting's
That's
a
huge.
little bit better,
That pen there right there does?
so you write it down. You go on the app, and then you can swipe the page, and it'll transform it all into text.
He hasn't given you this spiel yet?
Maybe I heard it
Unreal?
originally, but by golly, it seems unbelievable, doesn't it? And you got it for free?
By golly,
Sell this yokel on one of these.
it's
I ain't never seen nothing like
So
that
this is
before.
Bluetooth notebook paper, and if you wanted to record from your pen, you could do it there. So it has like a little menu to tap on.
Oh,
You see, and then there's a Bluetooth little laser in there. Yeah,
Laser.
on the pen, and then it looked like a lot of people think this is just like a badass pen.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like a it's definitely not like a Mont Blanc or whatever.
If you have a Mont Blanc pen,
Dude, just
But
go
people
fuck
think
off.
a lot of people think I do
Ugh.
like this is a nice pen, so
Right.
it kind of fools them.
Is it a stylus on the other side too?
no.
No. So you put a USB thing,
I see.
whatever the smaller
They
USB
charger.
to
I
charge
see.
it up.
That's respect.
Bluetooth connects, syncs, all that stuff.
Man, what if your notebook had to charge too? That'd be pretty crazy.
Integrates with Evernote and OneNote.
Dude.
So yeah, so for me, it's such a big part of my life that I used Otter.ai to write this spiel to them and say, hey, here's all the things I use it for, blah blah blah, and they actually listen and we're like, we will do a warranty since you've had it for 5 years.
Dude.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So anyway, the reason that's important is because they're going to keep me as a customer for a while, right? There's no competitor for them really, except not doing it, which is most people's number one competitor. Yeah. But that's like a dynasty
Yeah.
fantasy league.
But
Right?
does your pen
Okay.
have,
Yeah.
does your pen have enough ink?
You get 8 cartridges.
All right, so they don't let that happen.
No, yeah, you can't just fill it with your own ink. Your own prison
it's
ink.
not-
Sounds like
it's-
a life lesson there.
It's not a
baked
switching
in there.
cost. It's not like an upsell thing. It's like $5 for 8 of them.
It's a special inky thing that won't fit in other pens. So
Right.
it needs to be custom. I mean, there's a lot of technology
But
squeezed into
it's
that
not-
little pen.
It's not like the air purifier company I used to work for that we have in the other room that the deal is it's expensive, and then they get you on HEPA filters for the rest of your life
Dude.
that are $75.
HEPA filters for life.
Yeah, but it actually works. I'm just saying, like
Hashtag.
that's the model for them,
I get you.
right? And that's a lot of models for a lot of businesses. But I would say I wanted to kind of sweep that into Henry. You didn't know what we were going to talk about. You just kind of were strolling in. We're like, why don't you join? We wanted to kind of talk about fantasy baseball's coming up. I don't know if you're a fantasy guy. I don't think you're much fantasy sports dude,
That's correct.
but that's good
Thanks.
because
It's
we
good.
we are.
It's
It gives you the it gives the voice of someone who isn't.
Dude, I got perspective.
So you can kind
Call
of
us
fill in a lot of
nerds.
holes and questions because you can get into fantasy stuff like fucking the
as
biggest Dungeons
baseball
and
special. Yeah.
the biggest Dungeons and Dragons nerds of all time.
Yeah.
Like it's a stats game, which is funny. So we were
Right.
talking about we need to talk about how digital marketing is a lot like the analytics of it is a lot like fantasy baseball or any fantasy
Well,
sports.
yeah, because I was preparing for our upcoming draft on Thursday, and I remembered thinking back when you and I first started working together, and I was stupid, and you're like, "Listen, jackass, it's like fantasy baseball," and I was like, "Oh," and then you laid it out and you made some correlations for me, and I put it together. I don't even remember what the hell we were talking about,
So
but it's a really good way to explain things to like dudes who are into that sort of thing.
So I'm always trying to find a through line. That's where stand up helps me become an excellent communicator, regardless of every woman I've dated.
Naturally.
But like, I'm trying to find something that you're into that I can go, oh shit, okay, I know he's really into this. This is comparable to that. Like if you were into like a video game like Halo or something like that. There's a lot of stats with that when I used to play it. I don't play video games anymore, but I try to figure something out. Like there's usually some kind of thing you're into. H-Town. I was getting caught between Hank and H-Town.
Sure. Hank Town.
That I'm sure I could find that connection to tell the story. So it's almost like a mnemonic device to teach it.
Yeah,
you
for
know?
sure.
That's a big part of being a communicator is getting the stuff churning in your head out so that the person that's hearing it understands it. 'Cause
transferable-
most people understand what they want to say, but they
Right.
can't say it in a way that gets it across.
Right.
You need these tools like fantasy baseball correlations.
These analogies.
And you can
Analogies.
use taxes because everybody knows taxes a little bit, but
That's
that's
not
not going to stick.
And it's an
Well,
instant downer.
I'm just joking.
Yeah,
I don't know my taxes.
But you know what I'm saying? Like you could find this general thing
For sure.
that you can go, all right, you know there is taxes, right? Let's try
sure.
to start that way.
For sure.
Or you can go, okay, what is this person into? Let me see if I can find a through line. I
Yeah.
pride myself in telling the story of like I taught a 65-year-old like C-suite guy, executive, how ad placement works online. I looked around his office and saw this golf shit, and I was like, okay, it's like where the ads are is like sand traps, and your website's important that we need to make for you, because if you want to be a media site, the site we're making for you, you want to be a site that gets ad revenue from clicks. So consider those sand traps, and you're building a Robert Trent Jones course.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh. And we
Robert
just
Trent Jones known for a lot of sand traps.
No, just known for course building. It was the only reference I had
Architecture.
in my kind
The
of.
only golf course architect you knew.
It's like him and who's famous? There's famous
Greg-
Arnold
Greg-
Palmer.
Arnold Palmer, of
Yeah,
course.
Yeah, the old guys. What's his name? Jack Nicklaus, I think, designs
Yeah.
a lot of course too.
that's. I think maybe that's what I was. It doesn't matter anyway. I'd rather pick Robert Trent Jones because it's more specific, and golf guys know that.
Yeah, that's more inside baseball golf than just Jack Nicklaus. Yeah,
But it builds more
Everybody knows
trust
that guy.
by
Yeah.
using that more specific reference. Plus, I think
deeper pull.
specific's funnier to me too.
Yeah.
just in general.
Always.
Yeah, definitely.
But like, so I feel like we have a lot of talks with a lot of people, and Henry, you do this on the website analytics side because it's similar,
Right.
right?
For sure.
And I always try to go look for everything online. There's an offline,
Yeah.
like
Absolutely.
kind of business 101. So if
Right.
you have a website, that's your retail store
Right.
or your office.
Right. For sure. And you kind of treat it. I mean, as you were kind of explaining, I think websites and kind of the online offline feel, you handle it the same way when you're making. You're tracking, all right, so a heat map, for example, on a website, and we've got better tools today, but a heat map is a thermal image view of your website landing page with red where the mouse goes most, with capturing most people's sessions when they land on that page. And so where it's hot, it's going to be interacted with content, and where it's blue is going to be very cold and not very used areas of the page. And so
I would do that. I would explain it that way, the
Right.
professional way.
Yep.
And then I break and go, it's like the CDC put out a map for Zika.
yeah.
And I try to find,
Exactly.
like, everybody
or
kind of
weather,
remembers
go to
that.
the Weather Channel, right? The temperature map during
better-
summertime
yeah.
in the Weather
That's
Channel.
more palatable.
Zika
Yeah.
will leave an impression, though.
Well, because that's my personal experience.
For
So,
sure,
like,
for
I
sure.
I
Think
know.
of your website like a virus.
well,
all
yeah.
right.
Depends how you look at it.
Like, you're going to give
porn,
it a virus?
But you're just trying to
What?
put the visual in their head
But
of, like, you know,
Right.
this is. You may find more target areas in random spots,
Right.
and that's what it's going to help. with.
right, and so that's the online, and then the
You
offline.
right over there.
Yeah, I'm just playing with the cameras when you're not looking.
That's the online feel, and then the offline is a translation, right? So you related an example a minute ago to golf, right? That's kind of your offline translation to the internet. So in this case, the offline translation of like how this stuff works is like, okay, so they're not interacting with this corner, which is blue, but this is where the main call to action, where we want them to click is. They're not getting it. So like we got to reframe our minds, put ourselves in their perspectives and say, what am I trying to achieve if I'm this person on this page with this background, right?
Yeah.
And so you literally like put yourself in a place offline trying to do something physical in the real world and then try and solve this problem online. Like it's the only way to do it. So whenever you're trying to explain anything online, I think you have to find those offline examples just to because it's not technical, right? Like the technical piece like makes people glaze over immediately.
I think we need to do. And design specifically for you is big. I have trouble explaining the ROI of that. I was about to say we might have to do like a serialized like
I can get
podcast, like just a series of just breaking down an ROI of design and all those things.
We should, man.
We're gonna have to table that
Yeah.
because we'll never get to
I can
this
give
kind of thing.
I can give a quick version of
Go
that
for
if
it.
you want. So I think where we are today with technology forces design to be one of the final components that now is so important. Like we've fixed everything else, but now we're in an instantaneous world where we can serve up something very quickly on a phone from anywhere in the internet and world, right? So like all of that data has to be organized. It's got to then be put into, we call it a user experience, but when someone goes onto Google or goes into the place where they're trying to find out new things, they have a very limited amount of time. They're probably only going to spend about 3 to 4 minutes even trying to solve this goal before they try a whole new method. And so you've got that period of time to say, okay, let's break this out. Like the show 24, right? Like let's break down every minute of this and like literally walk ourselves through it. Design then becomes important just for the same reason I give the analogy of walking into any offline store, like walk into a mall store, a shoe store, a car store, anything. You have a user experience. You've got to be guided. That's all design, man. It's just design translated into a 2D digital format and soon to be more than that. But it's immersive, just like our real world. And so designing it just allows us to guide them without them having to think about it. It's all intuitive. And so it breaks down to even spacing, hierarchy in content. So you've got big, smaller, and then that's organized in a way where people can find their flow, just like they can find a sidewalk.
let me do a cheat code. IKEA
Yeah, perfect example.
layout of IKEA.
Perfect
It's
example.
designed. They know why you're going there. It's a destination retail store.
Yep.
Once you get in, it's hard to get out. It's a labyrinth
Exactly.
like Zelda.
Exactly. And there are shortcuts, and the more you pay attention and slow down, you can find new ways to navigate that are for more advanced users, right? I mean, there's a shortcut
Like
to
my
get out
mom,
of there.
Mama Smith told
Yeah.
me, go through the exit and just walk through that shit. Get a cinnamon roll on your way through the exit.
Dude, there's always a hack,
And go
man.
through the cash out and just go through the back and get the stuff. Don't walk through the retail.
That's
You
it.
know it's a box. Like
That's it.
You know why they call it IKEA? Because every time my wife buys something from there, I say, you buy something else from there in IKEA.
I don't have the soundboard.
I'll laugh at it. That's gold.
That was
It's
my
ac-
own
It's
soundboard.
actually funny. I
I'm
just,
a dad joke.
Trust me, I know. I
I
say
did
it
the
all the
shtick.
time. I know it's funny.
I did
You
the
just don't
shtick.
ever get to give it back to me.
I will
did the
never
shtick
not
back to
laugh
you,
at
yeah.
a good joke. I just can't. can't.
All right, so fantasy sports. I'm
Yes.
always surprised how big fantasy football and the other fantasy sports are. Fantasy baseball is
Fantasy
first.
football's like its own thing, you know.
Well, they're different games.
Yeah, and it's a lot easier. It's not as intense as fantasy baseball.
It's very passive. It's a
Right.
passive. You only have to pay attention to it once a week usually.
Yeah, if you ignore fantasy baseball, you're not going to win, and most of the other ones. But fantasy football, you know, my wife was a 4-time defending champion, so that's all you need to know.
That your league's terrible. It
No,
has chicks
no,
in
she's
it.
a badass drafter. I'll give her that.
No, I know. I'm just
But
shit.
it's just a matter of like she's not reading Roto World like I am and keeping up on things. It's just like, oh, I'll just play the best guys, and it fucking works. Believe it or not, because we think we're geniuses.
We do analysis we have analysis paralysis. You
Exactly.
overthink it. You can't relax, and you do too much research.
Exactly.
Oh, he's got a high ankle sprain. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Shit. Odell Beckham is being very sassy lately in the news. I don't think he's going to have a good game because of that. Like,
Where's
that
his
doesn't
head this
matter
week?
once you start playing a lot
Right.
of the time.
Yeah, exactly.
He'll have like the amazing one-handed catch for 2 TDs or something.
Yeah, and you're like, oh yeah, that's right. He's like one of the best in the league, and I don't know why I think I know more than them. I don't know.
Right. And so less is more sometimes when you overdo it. now.
Exactly.
Anyway, I would say for those who are maybe nodding out like Henry is about this analogy, 14% of Americans, here's the fun fact for the show, 14% of all Americans play fantasy baseball.
We're at 14. That's pretty high. I'm
14%.
surprised.
Yeah.
That's my lucky number, so it means something to me.
I'm going to say...
How long have you
I'm
had
gonna
that lucky number since you
I
were
was born,
14?
man. May 14th, son.
Oh.
Count it.
I'm going to say that's probably like 4% really play it, honestly, because it is a thing you can sign up for, fantasy sports, because you have no skin in the game unless you bet a lot of money with your
Yeah.
buddies. Most people another passive thing to do when you have your coffee, get in
Yeah.
the office in the morning.
Not me though. I'm diamond level, bro. If you go on Yahoo, you'll see me. I'm top 99%. That's hard to
Dang,
do.
that's billboard numbers.
Yeah, I know.
What is diamond level?
It's it means I'm like the best in the world at fantasy baseball.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
Cool.
That's a leaderboard, all right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like whenever you go.
Law's
to the
acting like it's dorky, but
Yeah,
if he was diamond level,
super-
he'd be saying
Man,
that same shit.
that's
But
how
you ain't.
They might as well call you Diamond Dallas Page.
Did you put
I
that
like
on,
that.
Did you put that on LinkedIn or like?
I'm
as
going
a-
to.
Is that a certificate or a reward?
Damn, that's
I'm
a
afraid
cert.
that because I think if I'm like
Digital
barely
cert.
above diamond level, so if I lose like week 1, I'm like back down to
Dude.
platinum, jobber ass platinum level.
It's tough being platinum these days.
Isn't platinum better than diamond?
Not according to Yahoo
What about
gemologists.
like getting a record? Like I got a gold record, I got a platinum record.
Anybody ever gotten a
Oh, no,
diamond?
I
record?
think diamond-
diamond's number one.
I think
Diamond
diamond is
record.
number 1.
Diamonds are forever. Law.
See.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, De Beers, for making up engagement rings as a thing. Hey, the best advertising of all time.
What did Ron White say about the De Beers people?
I'm gonna let you do it.
Let's finish it off, Henry. What did Ron White say? Got the camera on you.
Oh no, I can't.
I'll do what I do for Law, and I'll hover my finger over the fail button.
Oh no, I can't remember.
He couldn't remember.
Man, you put me on the spot and it just zapped
You
out
did
of
it.
there.
You brought it up.
I
Yeah.
know. I was hoping Law was going to pick it up because he used to stand up before Ron White, so I just thought he had that one in the book.
Meaning
I
used-
see what he's trying to do. He's trying to,
I've
fluff you up a
opened-
It's
little
more of a
bit.
setup.
I opened for Ron White once in Atlanta, and
One time. Just one time?
yeah, but I
Atlanta?
got to talk to him at a cigar event when I worked for the aforementioned air purifier
Dude.
company.
On the rocks? Did you have a drink on the rocks? Or
No,
was
he
it
was
straight?
doing like a meet and greet, and I was like kind of the last guy in line,
Nice.
and to just say what's up, hey,
Yeah,
open
the
for you.
lingerer.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was
I want
like
to spend real time with you.
I have a
Ron.
super creepy picture of me like bending over to like like I didn't want to take a picture like with the
He's like
photographer
leaning away.
there.
Like, "Oh."
He's signing shit for everybody,
Oh,
and I just wanted to like kind of say, hey, I opened for you. Thank you for letting me do that a couple years ago. Blah blah blah.
I remember the joke. Can I do
Okay,
it?
here, let me get my button ready.
All right,
I
cool.
flew here in a pack of gum
I love
because
that
my
joke.
manager
Don't
doesn't have a
mess 'em up.
globe.
Don't mess him up. Henry's in
the-
the zone.
The De Beers people have come out with all of these advertisements that make women feel like diamonds. Diamonds are forever. Diamonds. Isn't she priceless? Diamonds. How about they just come up with this new slogan? Diamonds. That'll shut her up.
Actually, not bad delivery because he's slow. I thought he was going to speed that up. He went slow.
You did it, yeah. I was going to
unweighted
push the
it a
button no
little
matter
bit.
what, just so you know that.
And then
I'm
you
not gonna-
missed the tag, though. That'll shut her up.
I know.
Applause for a minute.
Well, my whoppers went down by then. You're right, I did miss it.
Yeah, he takes a drink.
I'll tell
and-
you, that was blue collar comedy circa 2000. What do you think? 2008? No, 2006.
Yep.
And yeah, I was Total Recall, man. So 12
That's pretty
years.
good, man.
So what 12 years recall?
Total Recall. You're like the Quado.
Thanks.
So,
I've embraced that as my
so-
new nickname and username.
fantasy sports, I'm always surprised it's so big because it is it's a mathlete game. It's a stats game.
Yeah.
Right? It's
I don't ever have to watch any baseball to actually be diamond. Like, I can just look at the numbers.
Do you
Well,
watch baseball? How often do you watch the baseball?
I
that
watch
you-
a good
that you
bit of
fantasy
baseball,
about?
but not
How often do you fantasize at the baseball that you don't actually watch?
all the time.
So what's fun about it is it is kind of where we live, where we're not enterprise level digital kind of strategists. We're more in that small to medium sector. And when I say small to medium sector, I mean like medium can be 100 million in revenue for a company a year. Like it can be over 100 employees. Some people don't know the delegations, you know. And small to me means you make over $1 million revenue a year. Local
like
under
me? Is that what you just?
yeah, for sure. But what I'm saying is like it's like doing that kind of work at the enterprise level. You have all this market research, and you have to go through all these people. The beauty of the fantasy sports stuff is it gets your mind thinking about what it's a little bit of gut of picking a team and reading just enough, not too much, and you're not going to have the resources to. There's so many baseball players. Like you can make that a part-time job if you really want to
Right.
get into roto world stuff and like
When you say Roto World, I don't know what that is.
Okay, so Roto World is like a website that specializes in roto is like the old term for rotisserie baseball leagues. That's how they used to do it, where it would be like you have your team and it just counts all of your stats the whole year, and then
Gotcha.
whoever when the scoring's weird and complicated.
Sounds cool.
Roto World is just a site that took that
Got it.
name and they
Got
do
it.
news.
Do they
and stuff.
have an annual conference called Roto World Con?
they do, but not
I'm sure.
Yeah,
they
there's-
definitely have fantasy sports conferences.
Fantasy events.
The NBA does it. The NBA has Daryl Morley. He's a stats guy. So what's interesting is the Moneyball kind of crowd, and that's kind of where I wanted to get with this. I didn't want to get too
Nice.
deep into like
Jonah Hill Moneyball crowd or the real Moneyball crowd?
real Moneyball crowd.
Got
So the Houston Rockets owner or GM, he might be the owner. I don't know. He's the GM. He's a big stats guy where a lot of people aren't. So Moneyball, I like to talk about a lot. Moneyball is great because it goes, look, you know, in baseball, average and ERA. You have baseball cards growing up, I'm sure, right?
Sure, yeah.
And so
I-
those
good ones.
those are your two KPIs if we're doing digital, key performance indicators. Those were the kind of keystone stats we look at for every pitcher or batter and go, okay, this guy's good or this guy's bad, right? For the most part. But
Simplified.
what Moneyball, yeah, but I'm saying from a young perspective, that's kind of how you look at it. Or home runs or whatever you, RBIs. Very basic bitch stats. How about that? And then what Moneyball does is goes, those stats aren't the best indicators of a good player at the right price. So it's about budget meets figuring out a management of a team and going, hey, you know what's better? Kevin Youkilis gets walked a lot.
Right.
And he gets on base. It's more important to get on base.
Yeah, they took the batting average and they said that's not the only way to get on base. You know, you can get they have on base percentage for one thing. You know, they looked at that because all you got to do is get on base and somebody knocks you in. It doesn't matter how you got there.
And he's an ugly looking player. Like he was
Youkilis?
the ugliest.
Yeah, dude,
disgusting
I
looking.
hated that guy.
He
And
played
his
on Boston.
batting stance.
Yeah.
He's always had his knees together like he had to take a piss.
So it fools you too, because you think this guy's going to be a meat hitter. Like he looks like a grimy, like
He looks like the bad guy in all the baseball movies.
he looks like he
Rookie of the year,
works
the
on
guy
a
coming
loading
up,
dock.
grunting.
Totally.
Yeah,
He runs a loading dock before he plays baseball, kind of guy. Like
Yeah.
you're like, this guy looks like all he eats is dip. Like, and so but it's a trick almost. It's not. It's just how he found out how to make it work for him.
For sure.
And so what the deal is, it's about undervaluing a lot of players by your perception, your confirmation bias. This guy looks like a badass athlete. It doesn't mean he's the right person for the team. And so when you start looking at stats, they found out in a really basic sense, it was more about, for batting, it was more about getting on base and moving people around, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then for pitchers, it wasn't about ERA. It was about how quick, what is it? How many pitches for an out?
Oh, I don't know. I
Something
didn't
like
actually
that.
read the book.
Well, it's something like that. To
The
that
idea
degree.
is that you need 27 outs.
So there's guys that pitch, they might not strike out a lot,
Right.
but they create pop flies a lot of the time.
Right.
So
They're
while-
still getting an out.
Right,
Like, they
right,
don't
right.
care. Like, they're going to end that game
and
because
they might do it more
the guy's
efficiently too.
out. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
so Chad Bradford, who was a submarine pitcher, right, looks
Uh-huh.
ugly as fuck. The A's, they go, we're gonna trade for this guy. We're gonna get this guy. He's gonna fit this like hodgepodge kind of.
Yeah, they were doing a
misfit
thing.
toys
Yeah,
kind of thing.
they'd get guys that
So
you'd
it's
bring them in,
psychological, a lot of
and
it.
they look completely different than another pitcher does. You know, a submarine guy, that ball's like rising as it comes at you,
His
or they'd have
knuckles are-
sidearm guys.
His knuckles are literally almost on the ground as he's throwing. it.
Yeah,
So,
So it's just deception.
but he
to
can't
it.
throw heat.
Right.
Right? He's a changeup guy.
Uh-huh.
But that part is one aspect.
Right.
But the more important part, so that's almost like the gimmick. That's like the magic trick of this player, right? He played for the Rays, I think, for a minute.
yeah, he did.
Because we'll get into the Rays because they took Moneyball and then did something on top of that, and so he would get a lot of pop flies because it's coming from underneath, I think.
Yep.
And the way that velocity works
Yeah.
with a lot of people, it tends to create more outs.
Well, no, they're going 8 innings seeing a regular pitcher where the ball most of the time is coming on a downward plane, and then you have to switch up your eye level and your swing in itself, and just that, and changing your own swing is going to make you in baseball. If you have the slightest miss hit, you're out. Like
Right.
unless you hit it the way you want to hit it, like they're going to get you out.
And so when these players, the whole kind of system for them is surrounded by stats to make their contracts better.
Right.
So if you're a GM and you're like, all right, I think I found these gadget guys because I have a $40 million budget where the Yankees have 125,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
which is crazy.
Right.
And where football is socialist, everybody has the same revenue sharing. You have the same cap, the same budget to deal with. That's why the Patriots are amazing.
Right.
Because they do the same thing.
Sure.
They just find their guys that are like a white wide receiver in the slot that is
Handsome.
scrappy. Yeah.
Better be handsome.
Preferably Jewish,
Mm-hmm.
scrappy, and can take shit over the middle. We're going to burn them out in 3 years.
Yeah, and then when they're awesome and they leave and they suck because they're all messed up from getting drilled.
But Danny Amendola, Wes Welker, Julian Edelman,
Yeah, go down the line.
like they have this way of doing
Yeah.
their personnel.
Absolutely.
So what's
Absolutely.
cool about that is fantasy baseball. It mirrors the real Moneyball strategy in a way because it really looked like okay. When you play these fantasy baseball, you usually have like 10 stat categories, and you really have to find a strategy of what you're going to do for a team. And so you have to go, I'm going to punt power from my batting, and I'm going to go for the 3 other categories that stolen bases, average. So that it's a fun way to get your brain going. But in the other sense, was to say, with the extra 2% is a book that no one's really heard of. But it's one of the best business books you ever listen to, or read.
Shows you how
or
you read.
If it has an audiobook, I recommend it. It talks about the Rays.
Listen to 4 books today.
I've been listening to a lot
I
of
love
audiobooks.
saying that I read a book and heard it in the car. Like that's the best. That's the best.
I listen to so much podcasts
crushed
and
the Da Vinci Code.
audiobooks. I
Yeah.
think my brain defaults to all that. But
sure.
it's the extra 2%. They go, Moneyball's great, right? It has a huge form and function for being an anomaly, being an underdog. And I know we're heading on the end of this episode, but the extra 2% basically goes, Moneyball's awesome. You should apply it. It's not going to work if every team does it, it won't work, right?
Right.
Because if everybody uses the same style, it's not going to be useful. because your competition, if the Yankees start applying it, they're just going to get a better profit margin out of their team.
Well, I was thinking, for entrepreneurs, you need to think of yourself more like the Rays, who they don't have that budget, but they're going out and they're doing homework and they're doing stuff for if you're a small business and you put in the time doing your own keywords for SEO stuff, and you can put in this time to get results the same way as the person that's, got a huge corporation that's your competition, and they're just dumping money into it like the fucking Yankees. It's the same
if they
idea.
could reap any of the benefits of that big money research, just like you're talking about with the digital game. I mean, I think it's all very transferable. Like, there's a knowledge base of people who are putting the money in to see what works, what strategies and tactics are most useful. And then, like you're saying, there's the smaller businesses, smaller teams that are like bringing that in-house team enough together to where we'll figure it out inside. We'll find
necessity breeds innovation.
Yeah.
100%.
Right. And so they had to figure it out.
Right.
Or they're just going to be another.
Yeah.
It's going to be a new owner bought the Rays, and it's a really interesting story. Half the book's about how the Rays built a stadium before they had a team, and then it was used as pivoting by every other team to have a new stadium.
Yeah.
So it's like the dumbest thing in like sports kind of arena building.
Sure.
But that aside, it goes into like ownership. The owner before used to be cost-cutting guy, Vince Namoli, and that doesn't work all the time either. It's good for a consultant that comes in like he used to do.
Sure.
Comes into a big corporation, cuts the fat.
Yeah.
You need that guy, but that should be.
That's what the Yankees need now.
That's a guy that comes in, does that, and leaves, not always stays.
They need the Bobs from Office Space.
Exactly.
Talk to the customers.
Exactly. And
I'm
so,
a people person.
so what the extra 2% talks about is if we can get a 2% advantage on our competition, that's everything. That's all we need, right? And here's how we're going to do it. We're going to do Moneyball, the analytics, mathematical side, but we're also going to do it with management too. So you have to look at from just take a step back. We call it for shorthand, take the mushroom camping trip that you want to do and get real introspective and really try to think about your business or whatever.
Well, how about this? How about taking a step back, which is what mushrooms will do.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
And what the Rays did last year, if you pay attention, like they started using openers, which is basically rather than having a starting pitcher, they have one of their best guys go out and just get the first 3 guys out, and then they're out of the game. And by doing that, usually the best 3 hitters on the team are going to be 1, 2, 3 down the lineup. And when it first came out, everybody was like, well, how is this going to work and all this stuff? And it was just a matter of stepping back and saying, why are we using these starting pitchers for 7 innings and then, piecing it together from there? Like, who says we have to do that? Is it in the rule book?
Right,
No,
baseball's
it's not.
So legacy built,
right?
And people go, you have to do these rules that are unwritten. You have to have a pitcher that pitches 5 innings, or else he's not going to get his win or whatever. And then it's like
those days are over.
Why?
Yeah,
why?
exactly.
So you take a step back, you go camping, and you go, why are we doing shit that way? Why don't we try this? Why don't we just try it? It can't hurt.
Exactly.
We're the small guy anyway, right?
Yep,
so the thing about it is an extra 2%. It's Moneyball plus management still matters.
Right.
So Moneyball was saying, fuck all those scouts, fire all those old fat guys that just travel around in shitty Buicks and eat fast food all day and all that shit.
Yeah, it's all based on their feelings.
Right. They go, this guy's a 5-tool athlete, blah. They're just looking at it. He's a pretty horse, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
When in fact, he might not be the best player. Like David Justice at 39 was the best for the Athletics at that time because they could get him on a deal.
Yep.
He can play center field.
And he got on base.
100 games a year probably. And then they had Nick Swisher who could fill in when he got hurt. And he was an unheard of kind of guy at that point. Anyway, so management style, what I think is really interesting is the Rays go, we're going to do a strategy where when we draft, we're going to get, this is a management style I tell everybody about, human capital, the biggest cost, the secret cost in business. People don't understand that. I think we're going to start doing our own services as an offer to clients as like using ad campaigns to hire people, because why not do that too if we're doing your ad campaigns to bring in customers? Because a negative hire or a bad hire is negative 298% ROI. That's almost negative 300% if you hire poorly, right? So why not hire slowly, fire quickly kind of thing. So what they say is the management style is in baseball you go single A, double A, triple A, majors, right? You draft a guy, Scott Kazmir. This guy throws heat. So what we're going to do, instead of having 4 different managers, and you can think about it, this like middle managers in any office space situation,
For sure.
this is the way I do it as a boss. That's bullshit. And that's how you get these guys that don't have a track,
Yeah.
right?
They're getting told 4 different things on
Yeah.
the way up.
Chick-fil-A, you work there as entry level. They have a track for you the whole way, and it's called radio noise when you get different bosses doing it a different way. And what happens is he learns it this way, then this other manager wants it this way because he's got to put his stank on it.
Yep.
He thinks that's the way for him to get up the chain, right? Like programmers do this a lot. I got to write my own code in there. I got to make it unique. And it's like, no, you don't, bitch. All you need to do is go on GitHub and find a template and then adjust for that, right? You don't need to do it from the ground up.
Ego.
Right. And so Kazmir is the interesting one where they get him. He's a fireballer, strikeout guy, badass. We're going to hone what you're best at the entry level at single A. We're going to make sure that fucking fastball is bitching, and it's almost undeniable because you're always going to have that anchor as an employee for us, right?
Makes sense, yep.
And that'll give you self-esteem as well. Which pitchers, they're crazy. So you have to kind of watch their mental part of it too.
For sure.
In Double A, we're going to work on this curveball, and in Triple A, we're working on this pitch. And then when you get to the majors, we're going to make sure it all kind of fits together in a combination.
For sure.
And that you can handle it. And I think that's so interesting because what they would do is first off, these guys would go up a lot quicker as far as their development to becoming a legit player. They would keep them in the minors longer, but if you look at the time where they become legit, it's faster. Does that make sense?
It does.
And so we would get these guys. We'd have a roster of 5 starting pitchers. They're all badasses. They're 25 years
Getting
old.
paid less than $1 million a year.
Amazing, right? Amazing. And then we'd find,
And then we trade them.
and then we burn them out. Yeah, we use the shit out of their arm, and we burn them out, and then we trade for more picks and kind of keep doing it. And that was an amazing real look at. That's how you do that, I think.
Right.
And they know the deal too. It's
a
not like they were
program.
like, "You fucked me, bro."
It's a program. I mean, it's a program to success from the younger person's perspective because it makes them a franchisable little entity.
I'm getting a business boner thinking about this because it's so interesting to find these anomalies, and they go, "We're going to be a disruptor within something that's public too, right?" Because everybody thought they were crazy,
Yeah, they literally have radio stations dedicated to criticize your moves.
and they
Imagine if they had that for bit. Well, I mean, I guess
they-
we are kind of doing that. But
they apply Wall Street strategies to it. So they took a strategy from some other world and applied it to this world, and not everything, obviously, but it's all about undervaluing and then really just using horse sense and going, all right, how should these guys really move up, right? And you should use that for your own personal development as well.
Right.
Treat yourself as your own GM of a team and go, all right.
find out your strengths.
LeBron did it, right? He would add a piece to his game every year.
Yep.
Even though he
Correct.
was badass, and then he'd get this post-up game, and you're like, "What the fuck,
Right.
Yeah, totally.
dude? Are you?" And
It's mind
then
But he
brings
was
this point guard-
mastering another part first.
He was
And when he was a master, and he's working on the other stuff too.
right.
But he's going back, and that's easier to work on. You maintain that, and then you can add the new stuff in.
He was already the best player in the league, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna be the point guard now." Because
Yeah.
I'm basically just gonna bring the ball
Right.
down the court.
You don't. I don't. Just give me the ball. I don't need to pass it.
Right. So, all right, that we went a little bit longer than normal, but I like that because I don't
What
want.
about my
I don't want to
sweat
cut it short.
equity?
I'll say that I learned you guys did a great job of transferring and translating baseball, and now I understand it. And can translate
Now Henry
it.
gets baseball. Anybody in my baseball league, I'm coming for you, bitch.
I'm right here.
Diamond level. Yeah, I'm talking to you. SweatEquityPod.com. Check it out.
My sweat equity.
And hit that post.